practitioners, they hate the idea that they could be selling. So a lot of practitioners will actually water down a treatment plan in the fear that they're going to be perceived as selling. And that will actually be the reason why a client doesn't get the result they get, which is really interesting. I think as healers, we got into the profession because we want to help people, right?
Welcome to Whole and Unleashed, a podcast about coming home to ourselves. I'm your host, Jessica Locke, a holistic mindset, Strala yoga, and human design guide. This podcast is not about telling you what to do. It's about sharing stories and tools to connect to your inner wisdom and maybe give you an extra nudge towards living wholeheartedly. Because deep down, only you know what's best for you. We'll be talking mindset, business, recovering from burnout, human design, transitions, and so much more. Let's dive in, shall we? Hello. Welcome, Chloe. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Chloe Tudor. Am I pronouncing your last name properly?
Yes.
Chloe
You
Tudor,
are.
I love your last name. You're a massage therapist and co-founder of For Health's Sakes, a successful relocation multidisciplinary practice in Ontario, which includes physiotherapy, chiropractic care, massage therapy, psychotherapy, natural therapy, acupuncture, and osteopathy, and many other more. Because I feel like this is only a few of the things that your clinic covers. And we've met maybe around 2 years ago that I've been going to your clinic for self-care to just take care of myself. And something that I've noticed from the very beginning and to see how much you've grown is that it is different than other clinics. And I'm excited to hear more about your story, what led you to open a clinic, and yeah, welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's only been 2 years. I don't know why I felt like I knew you much longer than that.
I don't know if it's 2, 3 years. My math is
Yeah.
really bad, but what is time?
But I feel like, yeah, I feel like you've been on my journey from the beginning. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And for Health Sake has been around since 2018. And obviously your story, your journey started way before
Mhm.
then. For
Yeah.
people who don't know you, who is Chloe? How would you introduce yourself? Tell us more.
Well, yeah, I'm one of the co-founders. So my business partner is Katie, who I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to meet yet.
I don't think so.
No,
Not
okay.
yet. Not yet.
Yeah. So the two of us, like you said, we created For Health's Sake in 2018, and we sort of did it on a whim. I hate to say that, but it wasn't like this pre-thought out, mapped out business plan. It was like we felt this hunger to do it. We weren't happy where we currently were, and that kind of just like moved us forward. And we're like, when I will be honest, one night it was over drinking wine, and I told her that I quit my job, that I have nothing lined up, and I'm thinking of doing this. Do you want to join? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's literally how we started.
Yeah. I love that so much because sometimes the biggest goals in life that we have, it's not logical or there's no 5-step plan. It's just like something's not working. So let's
Yeah.
try something out. And it's like a leap of courage. And I'm sure there was a lot of fear. Do you mind going back to what wasn't working? What were you doing before that?
Yeah. So I was working in multidisciplinary clinics in Toronto, and I worked at a few of them, and I just felt like many people when they open a business, just none felt very authentic to who I am. And I felt that there was a bunch of pieces missing. Also, like the management wasn't the best. And when I was deciding to leave there, I started interviewing at I probably did 10 interviews of like the best clinics in Toronto just to like meet the owners and see their space. And that was my initial thought. Let's just try another space. And everywhere I went to, it was something else. And I was just like, there's still not what I imagined for myself. It wasn't like a for health's sake, clinics like ours. That was really here 5 years ago. Like they're starting to come more, they're becoming a little bit more popular, but before that, it was like very clinical, physio, chiro, or spa-like, and then the quality didn't typically match that, but they had an environment that was more welcoming. But there wasn't a lot of that overlap, so that's sort of what we created.
That's so true because it's either the extreme of this is a clinic practice, you go, you treat yourself. Even sometimes the interactions can be a little bit cold or they just treat the symptoms. And then, like you said, the opposite, which is spa. You completely disconnect, you feel great. But then
Mhm.
how do you bring it to everyday life? How do you bring the help the healing still, I guess, take place in the everyday? And I feel like at least from my interactions of my experience going to For Health's Sake, you are like holistic, like, "Okay, your shoulder is tight. What's going on in your life? Tell me a little bit more. We have therapy too. We also have these practices." And it's not pushy, it's more like there is an interest in the person more than just a number or somebody coming in and going.
I'm glad you felt that because that was a big piece for Katie and I. I grew up, I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in a very rural town in Nova Scotia of like 900 people on the island. So community was very important to me. And Katie grew up in a small town in Ontario. And that is part of what we felt like was missing in these Toronto spaces where it did feel more like that assembly line of care. And what was really important to us is that every person is genuinely remembered as if you were to go to my small town. Everybody knows you shoot the shit in little town Nova Scotia, like all of that. And that's what the vibe we want to bring into our spaces. And we sort of start that by the moment you enter. Our lounge is not those hard chairs. You're not kind of sitting, on the outside and have that formality and kind of that clinical vibe to it, but instead ours is like a living room. So we intentionally set that up. So as soon as you come in, it's just like your guard is down. You can just think of your healing, your nervous system quiets, and it helps us create the result in the room.
How did you get into this body of work?
Into what part of work? Sorry.
Into, healing overall, like healing body work. I know we're gonna
Yeah.
dive into the business, the fun, the challenges of business, but also, like, I'm
Yeah.
so curious, healing overall. How
It
did that
wasn't
start?
sort of like the story of my life, like nothing. I never said when I was younger, I'm going to be a massage therapist. It wasn't a goal of mine, but I went to U of T. I did my kinesiology degree there. And when I was graduating, I went to a career counselor and I was like unsure of my next steps. And we went through everything. And then she looked at me and she said, "Have you ever considered like sports rehab massage therapy?" And I hadn't. I had thought of chiro, physio, but there was parts about those disciplines that I still didn't feel like were really me. And when she said that, something lit off, and I was like, I could actually see that. I like the idea of creating the impact myself with my hands. So, like a whim, like everything I've done, I just went into that, and that's how that started.
Yeah, yeah, and I love because that care, I think it also carries through the rest of your business, how you both run for health's sake. We've had so many conversations when I come in and then I leave, I'm like, "Ah, if everybody has access to this kind of care where we're able to connect to our bodies, release the tension because our bodies hold so much tension, it holds so much stress, and we're not aware of it until it becomes very serious, until we have to go see the doctor." But sometimes even, having a stiff shoulder can be a symptom of something so much more big that is happening in the background.
Yeah,
So I love that, this is something that you come back to at the end of the day. Now,
yeah.
your business started a few years right before the pandemic hit. How was I'm sure you've gone through so many phases. How was that like?
So I was reflecting on that recently, and so during COVID, every clinic like ours had to shut down for 3 months, and we were fully closed. But we were able to pivot to virtual sessions. So we had actually had a psychotherapist who had worked in clinic at that time. But when COVID happened, we asked her if she wanted to do virtual, which she was interested in. So her practice grew and blew up big time. So at least we had something coming through during those tough months where nobody else could practice. And what's interesting is COVID is the reason why we have virtual psychotherapy today. I don't know that we would have had it otherwise. And I don't know that it would be so common without COVID happening. And I even looked at last year alone, and like last year we had around 2,500 virtual appointments. That was nearly like 500,000 gross sales for a discipline that we never would have had. So it's really interesting. Obviously, COVID was very tough mentally during that time, but we took action and we thought of other ways, and I'm actually, in a way, grateful for what it brought to our clinic.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, it's so beautiful because yes, sometimes in the challenges we find ways. And now, online appointments is so common and it's become a way where people can check in without getting out of the house. Yes, sometimes in person events, it's amazing. And at the same time, being able to have it more accessible.
It's way more accessible, and even sometimes smaller towns, even in Ontario, they don't have always as high quality for different types of therapists, so to think about that we can reach all these rural areas of Ontario with our downtown psychotherapist is also really cool.
With technology. It's
Mhm.
so cool that you get to do that. What are some of the what were some of the things that you learned while you were running your business? What were some of the surprises that came along the way?
So many. I would say, like, one of the hardest things for me is sort of that idea that you're not always going to be liked by your team. It's funny because we're doing mentorship now, and I'm loving the mentorship program because it allows somebody with a bird's eye view that knows clinics to really guide us and tell us how we're doing. And right away, one of the things that he said was, you don't want to strive to be liked, but you want to strive to be respected. And that was something that almost gave me a moment of like, "Oh, you're right," because no matter what, there's gonna be things that you have to do that are better for the business that not every individual person is gonna like, but it's so that you survive and thrive and keep offering, all of our wonderful offerings. And I think almost having that acknowledgement just let me be like, "Okay," because everybody likes to be liked, and I want everybody to like me, but I realize that there's times where we have to implement things that might not be always well received, but they'll understand them, hopefully.
You're right, because there's so many tough decisions as a business owner that happens behind the scenes. We can see
Yeah.
from the outside, like you have gotten a lot of awards in the past couple of years and recognition, but behind the doors, I'm sure there's so much tough decisions on like, well, this is a business. We are an entity. We also need to keep it afloat and to create a little space between that.
Yeah.
How did you
It's
ground yourself when things were really hard and, making decisions that you're not used to making. Now you're more used to, but at the very beginning, how was that like?
funny because I almost think of it as like 2 different versions of myself. So, me personally with my friends, I am very different than how I am as a business owner. Like, I'm very go with the flow, casual. I'm like, I'm not A-type personality, so I don't look for like all the little things that you need to look for. Like, for example, if it was me personally and somebody came to me and said, "Oh, I need, you know, $2,000 for this course. Can you help me?" I'd be like, "Of course I will help you." Like, that's my initial reaction. Like, I would love that. It's such a cool course. But then I realized with the business hat, you're like, "Oh, wait, we need to see if we have the finances. We need to like, look at our P&L. Can we even do this? Like, what makes sense?" And then based on all of these numbers, come back to them with something that hopefully they're okay with, but you can't just give everything all the time. So, it's like tuning into different parts of me, but it's challenging. I still struggle today, I'll be honest.
It is hard. What was something did you know about business before you both got together? Did you have a business background? Did you support yourself with additional or kind of winging it little one step at a time?
It was one step at a time, and I kind of think it's like a lot of things that we do. When you start doing something, you then immerse yourself in it, and the passion grows. I wouldn't have said when I first opened For Health's Sake that I had a huge passion for business, but I'm obsessed with business now. I find it so interesting, and I'm always reading business books, listening to podcasts, and just always evolving in that way. And sometimes I'm like, Katie, like, how did we even get to where we are for how little that we knew? Because now it's like our mentor will tell us things and we're like, how have we not done that yet? Like, that's so obvious, but we still somehow got to where we are, which is incredible for us.
Which goes to show that when you're passionate and you care about something, you might not know all the right ways to do it. We're here to learn, but it still leads you forward regardless of
Yeah.
what yeah.
And I do think that that comes down to integrity, like as a business owner, I've always had a strong moral compass of right and wrong and honesty and being genuine and all of those characteristics has just always been ingrained in me. And I think that if you have that and you follow, through that lens, I think the rest will follow. But you just have to stay true to that integrity piece. And that is something that Katie also, like we both, that's who we are. And I do think that that's a big reason why we are where we are today.
Have there been moments where you there were opportunities that were misaligned, but you had to, it might have made sense on paper, but then it didn't feel right for you. Have you encountered moments
Yeah.
like these?
So as you probably know, like we have our first franchise right now. And yeah, there's been a few people that have showed interest in the franchise who I just don't think would be well aligned with what we're looking for. And there could be many different reasons for that. They could be lovely people and there could be maybe something else missing. But yeah, like if you look on paper, you're like, well, that would be amazing to like have another one in a different community. But the quality is so important. So we're staying true to that feeling of like, are we really excited? Does this make sense? And then moving forward. So we've turned down people because of that.
Yeah, and what helps you personally come back to, okay, this feels right or not? What is part of your, I guess, grounding process in making these type of decisions?
I always just go off the gut. Like our gut tells us so much. So if my body is being like, oh, I don't know, if I even think that, that's my answer. If my body's like excited, like that's how we do hires as well, by the way. If we get that excited feeling, it doesn't matter about their skill. I'm like, no, you're hired. You are working with us. I will tell them that in the first interview. It's not professional, but I'm like, no, you got the vibe. This is gonna work out. So I just keep going back to to listening to myself, and I am very in tune with that, Katie, as well. We're big on energy.
Has that always been a component or something that you focus on growing up, tuning into that voice, that inner guidance?
No, I do think I'm getting better with that over time. Yeah, I think a lot of people become more aware of the power of energy over time. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm loving about aging. You become more confident. Yeah, you're aware of how important the holistic side of and the spiritual side is.
I agree. I agree. I was taught to be very logical, to always have, 8-step plan to make decisions from a place that you had guaranteed success. But now, as I'm older, after burning out, also quitting my job with nothing lined up, I'm like, no, like my body has been screaming at me. Well, it's been whispering, but I wasn't listening. So it had to scream at me to stop. And then I realized, okay, if I listen to my body, how would things look like? How would things pan out? And for the most part, I think every single time it has never stirred me wrong.
Yeah. And sometimes, even though you have loved ones around you, if you bring it to other people, it can hinder your progress, even though they have what like great intentions, but everybody has their opinions, right? So I know because we've spoke before. But yeah, even my mom, I remember when I decided to open the business, I didn't tell her until we were already doing it. It was like, oh, we're doing this, by the way. So it wasn't like she could convince me out of it. And she's so proud of where we are now and she loves for health's sake. But to her, she's like, really? Like her reaction would be, are you sure you want to open a business? Like managing people's really tough. Like, do you want that stress in your life? Like all those things, right? So you have to be very selective about who you go to for things.
Yes, that's such a good point. And also, like, sometimes people's fears, we can latch onto it or it can latch onto us. And it comes from a good place of
Yep.
wanting us to do well, but also, yeah, it can dissuade that inner guidance. Like, this thing feels so right, yet everybody around us doesn't understand. And again, coming back to that, and the more you practice, like you said, the easier it is to notice, oh, no, this is a full body yes. This is a no.
Yeah. And I think the other important part when it comes to business is you have to be open-minded. So if you put a product out there or service out there, the clients will tell you if it's something they want. And they'll tell you based off of purchases, off of, sessions they're booking. And even if you be curious enough to pick people's brains, what do you like, what do you don't like, and pivot because of that, that's why we are where we are. It's because literally just going to people like you and getting feedback and learning how to improve the process So I do think some people have this idea of like, no, I'm doing just this, and then it doesn't work because they didn't listen to what the clients wanted.
You're working with your community to give them what they need,
Yeah, yeah.
which sounds like
Sounds so
isn't that
simple.
what everybody should do? It sounds so simple, right?
So obvious.
What is something in the process as your team started to grow and you had to manage more people? What is something that what is the best part of managing people? Let's start there.
I feel blessed with the community of practitioners that we've seen to attract. I feel like we have the most wonderful people at our space. I don't know how many that you've gotten to see personally, but um, Katie and I will hire off hearts first. That's big for us. So, making sure that they genuinely care, that they want to make an impact and all of those things. And then the skill will come later. And the warmness and just that personal, being able to really connect. That's so important. So I've just loved to be surrounded by a group, mostly women, although we've hired a male recently, but it's like 95% women. I think there's around 35 of us now. So just being around such an incredibly encouraging and motivating and like that to me has just been really special. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what I love, just getting to know everybody on that level.
Yeah, that definitely helps in, I guess, for others people that are interested in either starting their own business or even managing people. I feel like it gives a lot of context into it. You're still guiding them and helping them
Mm.
go with your business. And at the same time, you want to be able to connect with them or have similar values and, yeah, similar beliefs. Have you ever had to fire someone or let go of someone?
Uh, there's been a couple. I know it's going to happen a little bit more now as we grow because we've also gotten more. Um, I don't want this to come off wrong, but I feel like it's a privilege to work in our community and to be surrounded by such incredible people and clients that if you're not at that level of alignment, then you don't get the opportunity to be part of that in a way. Like
Yeah.
I don't want that to sound arrogant. It's not even about me or Katie at all. It's just about the space. Like it's a privilege to be in that kind of a space and environment in a work environment. So we're very cautious now about the energies that we bring in, and we have high expectations and especially for the results that they create on clients. So yeah, there's been a few tough conversations, and they don't get easier too, but I'm learning how to deal with those better because again, it's just about protecting your business.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the right fit, right? Like both your clinic is amazing, the person can be amazing, but if you're not the
Yeah.
right fit, they can thrive somewhere else as well, just like you can find someone else that will thrive there. So I think sometimes it's easy to forget. When I was learning, about the business, online business, people are like, yeah, sometimes firing is not necessarily a bad thing. It feels terrible for as human
Yeah.
beings, because, I feel so bad, but then also it opens up opportunities for them to thrive in
Yeah.
their own way or find another
Absolutely.
place that is more equipped. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that way of looking at it. It could be a win-win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the long term, in the long run.
Mhm.
What is some advice you would give to someone that is starting to start a wellness business?
Always be curious and pick people's brains around you, like whether that be clients, other business owners, mentors. Like I think think women have that more inherently, and I'm always asking questions, and sometimes I even play dumb on things, like, "What would you do for this?" Like, having an idea of what I would do, and people will tell you so much information if you just ask them, where some people may come in with this idea of like, "Oh, no, I know everything, I don't need to ask," and they're just gonna hinder their own progress, and it could be ego, it could be whatever. So I just think being very humble, open-minded, and curious is huge to growing your practice.
Love that. I love that. What are some common misconceptions there are in starting a business or getting into body work?
Hmm, okay, this one's really interesting. So practitioners they hate the idea that they could be selling. So a lot of practitioners will actually water down a treatment plan in the fear that they're going to be perceived as selling. And that will actually be the reason why a client doesn't get the result they get, which is really interesting. I think as healers, we got into the profession because we want to help people, right? And then when you get into the business, you realize that you're not actually going to be helping if you can't articulate how often they should be coming, when they should be coming, maybe who else will complement the service. And until you get over that and you know that you're doing it because you're serving and not selling, then that's when the progress gets made. But I think sometimes, yeah, clients don't realize that we hate that part of our business, but it's part of it so that we can create that impact.
I love that you touched on that because that's something that I also found in myself. At the very beginning, I hated selling or pushing, "Oh, this is how I can help you," or "This is how," like, it felt very icky because there is icky marketing, there is icky salespeople, but we don't have to do it, and I love that you brought that up because for anybody who's listening, there's a lot of people that are, they're online business owners, they're solo business owners, they might run a place, and sometimes that's the component, that might be the main barrier that is preventing themselves from being seen, from
Yeah.
taking up space, and from other people finding them because they're hiding. We're all hiding because it's more comfortable. We don't want to be pushy, but we're amazing, but also we don't want to bother
Yeah.
you. That kind of energy.
Yeah. I love that you even said that about hiding because people think if I'm a great practitioner, clients will find me. Clients
Mm.
will not find you. And then they could be wasting so much energy and time and money on other practitioners when you would have been the best fit, but you're just afraid to put yourself out there. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's a big one.
Oh, was that something you and Katie experienced at the beginning, or it's something that you've noticed more?
So it's interesting because I've never had that, and I think it's because I grew up in my little rural town of Nova Scotia, and we're just used to when you find amazing things and you know of amazing people or whatever, it's your duty to share them. So it's that community feeling of you're looking out for each other. So it was inherent to me. Every clinic I worked at, if I went to and like if I knew of other people at the space that I really believe and I've seen what they've done, I will, without hesitation, tell my client, you have to see this person before you see me next because I want to get to this result. And I'll be so, and then I might come across as being strong, but it's because I'm so passionate about it. And of course, it's up to the client to decide what's right for them, but that always came inherent to me. So sometimes I struggle when I know our team struggles with that. And it's like, get out of your head. Don't assume that. You're like, you have to is as long as you're genuine, which you need to be 100% of the time, then never worry about what else like what else you say, right? But Katie, I actually wonder, I do think she might be a little bit more, it's maybe less inherent to her. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a big thing because there's so many stories in our subconscious that we're not aware of it
Yes.
that, oh, I went through that in many times when I've launched programs where, oh, I've already sent them an email, I talked about it in this post. But the thing is, there's so much noise, there's so much distraction, there's so much. Sharing it a few times also primes the person to be like, wait, is this something that I'm noticing? Is this something I want to be fixed or do I want to tend to that? It also help guides them to, oh, is that something I want to focus on? Because we're not in our face, we're not forcing people to buy, but it can feel like that when we have to be a little bit more persuasive, or even there's an art to selling that it takes time to master and learn, but it's so important because what if it's not selling? What if it's only telling, people about how they can feel better and be reminded because we're so busy, we're all
Yeah.
stressed out about different things. Like again, there's so much noise. So it's almost our responsibility as practitioners, as business owners, if we enjoy what we do, like we should be enjoying what we do to be like, no, like I believe in this, like if you want to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess finding the way and the method on how to deliver it is unique to every person. Some person might recommend it, some person might, yeah, it comes out differently. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, and then people do, they have to find what feels authentic to them, and like, I always like to give them ways of like what I do and for them to take pieces of it. But it's funny because sometimes clients will say like, well, what would you tell your mother or something just to like
Oh,
bring it down, which it's so funny to me because I'm like, if it was my mother, I would be like, I am booking you right now for this session. You're gonna see this person tomorrow. And I would be like that, right? I'd be because I wouldn't want my mom to be in pain, and I know that this would help her. So I would just like actively book her in. So it's kind of funny because I'm like, you probably wouldn't want me to do it unless I would.
you're like, your calendar is all booked if you want me to book it
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I got to go a little softer when it's not my family.
Have you noticed? I think so much of, even though this is a clinic and a lot of the focus is on the physical symptoms and soothing them and helping us feel better, have you noticed blocks or resistance in clients? Because sometimes even relaxing your shoulder or your hip can release some emotion and maybe they're not ready to process it. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I do think this is what separates For Health's Sake apart from many clinics, and it's why we've had the results that we've been having with people, is that Eastern and Western blend in that mental and physical piece. Because when people are in our space, they start seeing all these amazing services around us, right? And they become over time more and more open to it because they also see how busy and popular they are. So it allows this way for them to just be a little bit open. And then, of course, if their practitioner recommends it and they trust that person, they'll likely explore it. And people will explore things that they probably never would have otherwise tried, like, Bowen therapy, which is a little bit more around energy work. Acupuncture that helps calm your nervous system for a busy like CEO, and they came in for back pain. They probably didn't think they'd be doing something like that. So there's this different angle that even though it's not what they came in for, it's likely what they needed, but they didn't know it. So I think that's what's so special about our space.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a long time ago, I went into clinic for skin problems. And then they asked me, like, have you seen a therapist? I'm like, my skin is breaking. What do you mean therapist? But then eventually it laid the path to, oh, again, holistic. We forget. We are so obsessed with treating the symptom when sometimes your symptom can be treated by doing something completely different that is not related to the area we're treating. It might be just relaxing in our lives and being able to disconnect.
Yeah, and stress creates all kinds of things. So if you can learn how to quiet that, then no matter what you're doing, if it is your shoulder or your back, whatever, you're going to get further with it with the system decreased, right?
Yeah, yeah. How do you, as a business owner, and you have so many roles to play, how do you come back to yourself and de-stress?
For me, I love working out. Like working out is my outlet of just like expending energy, and it helps release a lot for me. And then because I'm surrounded by such amazing people, I'll gravitate towards different people at different times, depending on how I'm feeling. But it's so good to know like the hands exactly, like have that confidence. And then I just see everybody. I love all the therapies. And I used to not love acupuncture. I didn't love needles, but now it's like, no, I know that's so important for my nervous system. So even though I'm a wimp on the table, I'll still do it. And all of the services.
I love that. Does it get easier over time for you with acupuncture? I know a lot of people have resistance, but I'm like, give me all the needles if it's gonna feel better.
I'm so dramatic, and it's not even bad, but, like, my palms were sweat, and it's so funny. I'll be like, "I'm dramatic, just, like, please just tell me when you're done." And they're like, "Chloe, it's been done. It's in you. Like, you're fine." I'm like, "Okay."
You're
Yeah.
What
So,
are some of the services that you're most excited about? Because I know you're adding to your, I guess, service library. Is that product service library? Is that a way you have more offerings?
yeah, I think we're gonna stay at sort of the disciplines that you named in the beginning, because I think there are, like, 8 major disciplines, and those cover a lot of the main areas. Like, there's so many other ones we can continue to offer, but I already worry that it's too overwhelming. So I like the 8 that we're at right now. I've been very excited with the psychotherapy work. I think it's so cool just because it's normalizing therapy and being accessible to people that probably would never have been open to it before. So I think that's probably one of my favorite additions.
Yes, we talked a little bit about it, and I wonder, for anybody who's listening, because you get to talk about whatever you're going through and also move that energy with your body because you can schedule an aftercare later of like, I felt a lot, maybe I can get some physio or acupuncture or even like a massage therapy to further help your body and even your mind release and process, because sometimes we talk about really heavy things like in coaching with my clients. I'm like, okay, after this session, because most of my clients are online, go for a walk, shake your body, move your body, because otherwise all that work just becomes mental and it's not enough to release whatever your body has been holding. So I love that, they're able to integrate and be like, okay, I have therapy now, let me book a body care session.
Yeah, that's so great that you're doing that, and that's why I think your coaching program is so special because you're really in tune with the body as well, and a lot of people don't even know that, but you're right, you take in so much. Your body needs somewhere to put that, so how are you gonna expend that? And it's all about movement usually, or even going for a walk and talking to yourself. Like, sometimes, like, our osteopath was saying how she manages by talking out loud and by saying that and using that, like, way of letting it out helps her to process it.
I love that. See, like we all have different methods. Like, do we lean into that?
Mhm.
How do we create the space for others to find what works for them? And it
Yeah,
starts with, I guess, like a relaxed body. Like, again, so many of us don't realize how much our bodies are doing for us and holding. My access point to this type of work is because I kept getting sick. My body was showing me all the symptoms. I was not very good at listening to it. I was very good at pushing, at proving, because I was younger, I had more energy. And then my body showed me how much I've been neglecting it.
yeah. I can confirm that based on what I know about your body.
Yes. Yes, every time, like, "Why are you so tight?" I'm like, I need some extra support," but it responds really well every time. I'm just
It
like,
does.
Can I see you every week?"
It just needs to be reminded.
Be reminded, otherwise my mind gets cut off with all the work that I have to do. And I can imagine a lot of patients coming into your clinic, they think, "Oh, I'm here for one thing." How has the transformation been? I'm sure you hear from a lot of people that's like, "You've changed my life," or what are some of the stories that stood out?
Honestly, that's the biggest one. Like, that is the best compliment I can ever get is when somebody says, like, "For health's sake changed my life," or "This practitioner changed my life." It's not even I changed their life. Like, I wanna know that something that we created had an impact on that response, and if you read some of the reviews, it's just it will give me gratitude anytime. If I feel like, "Oh my gosh, business is tough," I just have to read some of the reviews, and I'll be reminded of why we're doing this because there's been people with very complicated chronic pain that we're giving up, whether physically or mentally, and to have that kind of reaction on them where it some people now no longer have whatever pain that they thought they're gonna live the rest of their lives for, or whatever it may be, and that is an incredible feeling.
Yes, I'll link the reviews too so everybody can book. At first, I was like, "Should I interview Chloe? I want to gatekeep because it's so hard to book appointments with you all." But then, it's good to share good things with people when you
Yeah.
love it.
Exactly. And again, it doesn't have to be me because everybody else is so wonderful too. We're so picky with who we hire, so
Yes, like I've seen maybe a handful of people and I've loved like every interaction. Like, I feel better. There's so many different modalities. And yeah, please look at the website, check ahead of time. Sometimes the appointments run out, but you have a few locations. You have Leslieville, downtown Toronto, and now Etobicoke.
yes, yeah.
Oh, any more locations coming up?
Hope so. So we have a few people that are interested in the franchise, and there's conversations being made. I can tell people are excited. So, the timing is so important of when people want to actually start this because it's a whole new life that they'd be starting. But yeah, we're being very selective and we want to open with like-minded people. And I would just love to ultimately just help more communities and have more people have access to this type of therapy. That's the goal.
Love it. I love it. What is something that you would tell Chloe, younger Chloe, maybe 10 years ago, about
Yeah.
your journey overall?
Just to trust the process, to trust myself. Like, so often we have doubts of like, "Did I do this right?" And it's just like, just trust yourself and breathe and, knowing where we're at now, even if you make wrong decisions, if you have the right intent, it's gonna be okay. So, I think people just have to give themselves more of that. Um, yeah, I guess confidence in ourselves.
How do you build confidence?
Confidence is something I've always struggled with, I'll be honest. Public speaking, the fact that I'm even doing a podcast, I used to get very nervous about podcasts. I've done quite a few lately, so I'm feeling a little bit better, but I hated public speaking. I know a lot of people hate it. It's like one of the biggest fears, but when I say I hated it, I would opt out of at U of T, if it was 10% of the mark to do a public to do a presentation at the end, I would opt out of it just so that I don't have to do it. And I'd work really hard to get the other 90% up.
Like, if I get
So
90%, that's fine.
that's fine. I'm okay with it. Um, so yeah, I do think with age, confidence builds and creating results, your confidence will build.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you're always learning and open to trying things out. I think that's also been, we've talked a little bit about growth mindset. And I think
Mhm.
that also, there's something in there because there is a curiosity to grow, but also it's not about growing for the sake of, which again can ties together with business where there are many opportunities to grow and there's so many ways that we can push ourselves because we can always do better. How do you find
Mhm.
that balance for yourself personally as you again manage all the different roles that you play?
I I don't know if I manage if I balance well. I'm I'm very driven. I love business, so I feel like it's not draining me. I will work all the time, and it's perfect because my fiance also loves it. So we're a good partnership in that way. Um, I think in terms of balance, I don't know, that's tough. I have Jamaica booked and, we're doing a resort, which we never do, and it's gonna be really interesting because 'cause we're both trying to say, "Okay, let's not read a business book for once. Let's try to read, a fiction," and I don't even know how to choose one, but we're gonna try.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's fun. That's a fun challenge. Oh, sometimes we get into those pockets of space where things are so cool and when I'm working on my own business, I get lost. As you can tell, every time I come, I'm
yeah.
like, this is so much fun. It's not stressful, but I can get lost in doing that. So I love that you're like, let's try it out and create opportunities to disconnect because there is also such thing as too much of a good thing where we can't only eat kale all the time when it first came out and when it was the best thing ever, right? And finding that dance of like, okay, let's try to do the thing we love
Yeah,
and
and you're right. There's something to, too much of embedding yourself in the business where if you do force yourself those moments of breaks, other things will come to you that might not if you're just really in it. So, even for me with Jamaica, I'm, thinking even though it's yes, I wanna relax, I'm like, "This is actually good for business too." So, take that moment to not be involved. Yeah.
really beautiful reminder because I do remember there were times where my body is tired. I'm like, I can just do one more thing. But if I take the time to step back and sometimes not touch it, it's almost like
Yeah.
more people come to me as a result because I'm rested. Like that didn't make sense
Yeah.
for me.
So cool.
Yeah. Rest, the power of rest. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Ooh, we'll see.
We'll see. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Okay, well, mention that. You changed my life. 406 changed my life.
Yeah, yeah. What does coming home to yourself mean to you?
Coming home for me is coming home to my fiance, my fur babies, that's my home.
Yeah, yeah. What would you like more of?
Impact, impact on people's minds and bodies.
What what is one habit that keeps you grounded?
Going home to Nova Scotia and being brought back to that simple life.
Mm. A book that changed your perspective.
So many. I think one of my favorites is, uh, story How to Build a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And I also love ones around personality and understanding different personalities. Um, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
I love that. What's one thing you recently unlearned?
Perfection isn't the goal.
Oh. If you could have a conversation with your past or future self, which one would you choose and why?
Future, for sure, I would ask myself, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Tell me everything that I should avoid. Definitely the future.
What is something that's currently bringing you joy?
Oh, so many things. I've like I'm happy. Like I'm a happy person and I love work, I love life, I love friends. So I don't even know if I could choose one. Everything is bringing me joy right now.
That's great. That's great. I love it. Oh, thank you so much for your time. Tell us about For Health's Sake. Where can people find you all? How do we book our sessions? And what offerings do you have currently?
Yeah, so we are at downtown Toronto, so Queen and Spadina Street, and also in Leslieville, which is Leslie and Queen East. And then we have our third location in Etobicoke. So depending where you are, you can go to any one of those clinics. You can find us on Instagram, forhealthsake.ca, or our website is also forhealthsake.ca. Yeah. I hope we help attract people. I would love to meet more people and especially if it's your community. I feel like it would be such an alignment with For Health's Sake.
Well, I'm excited. I know there's a few Toronto listeners. I have a lot of listeners spread worldwide, but I know there are some Toronto there. So I'm excited. I'm recommending my sister or everybody. I've been sending the
Aw.
emails. I'm like, go there, go there. You have benefits, go there. Like, you're going to feel so great.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you for what you do and creating this little space. How many years has it been now since?
We just hit our 6-year mark.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there
So
anything
nice.
else you would like to share?
No, I enjoyed our conversation and yeah, I love all that you're doing too. I was listening to some podcasts and they're so great. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. If you're feeling the pull to deepen your journey of self-trust and embodiment, I'd love to invite you to check out Human Design Fundamentals. It's a self-paced deconditioning library paired with life group support, designed to help you reconnect to your truth, work with your shadows, and nourish the gifts that make you, you. If you're seeking personalized support, you can also book a one-on-one session with me. And if you're a human design coach, student, or enthusiast, there are plenty of templates and resources waiting for you to make your work even more easeful. You'll find everything at wholeandunleashed.com. Thank you for being here and see you in the next time.